Hello, class. Today's lesson, we are going to have a look at Transformers Beast Wars 10th Anniversary Cheetor. Now, the whole point, I think, of the 10th Anniversary series, besides getting people to buy figures they probably already had, was that they were trying to make them a little more show accurate, because a lot of the first waves really had issues with that. But one thing I should point out, before we even look too much further, is that Cheetor here has got a Maximal emblem here on his shoulder, which he never had in the show, and I'm pretty sure the first waves of figures didn't. I know there was more than one wave of Cheetor in the first kind of release of the series. So, someone presents you with this and says, hey, it's original Cheetor, you tell them to bugger off. Now, this figure itself, I mean, in the Cheetah mode, the mold itself, it's hard to see here. Well, I can see it a little bit here on the camera. It's actually got like the texture of the fur in the mold here on the top and the shoulders, and even down here at the back of his hips and his legs. In terms of the color as well, he's a cheetah, so he's primarily yellow. We can see some of the blue highlights from his robot mode, especially when we look at the back of his legs there. And he's obviously got the spots. And we can see a little bit of robot mode stuff here. So in terms of the cheetah mode, hey, you know what? It's not too bad. Obviously, though, well, I guess you could buy this because you like the look of the cheetah mode, but probably you bought it because you like the character and you want to see how he looks in robot mode. So without further ado, we will have a look at him in robot mode. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Come back to those. We're going to fold down his legs, turn them this way. And these little bits here, we can pop out his feet. We can fold down front arms of the cheetah this way. This is the fun part. You can rip that open and just rip open his back there. Pull that apart at his shoulders to give him some arms. Fold down. Did I do that backwards? Must have. Sorry, turn this way. Fold this down. Oh, okay, there we go. And the cheetah head we're going to turn and fold in this way, and then boom, we've got Cheetor. Now, I'm using a different tripod try to get more of a downward look at him. But as you can see, even if I do stand him straight up, part of his face is kind of obscured by the cheetah head. And I find I don't know if there's any way around that with this figure. It always looks like part of his face is kind of obscured by that. You can see it more from the profile if I bend him forward. Anyways, that's Cheetor. Looks pretty close to the way he did on the show. I think the face was a little more metallic blue, and it looked more like a cat face than he has. He kind of reminds me of Bumblebee, the horns on the head and the yellow. Except he was more useful than Bumblebee was. Oh, I know all the Gen 1 fans are going to get mad at me. What can I say? I like Cheetor. Actually, Bumblebee was okay, but anyways. You know, bright yellow Transformer. Okay, I'll stop. So, here we got Cheetor. Now, in terms of the detail of the figure, we can see the bits for the robot. Again, much like other Beast Wars figures, a lot of the detail that we saw on the Beast mode, we're going to see in the robot mode. We've got the legs back here, the fur. You can just get a look at his head. You can just have a look at that there. Not too bad. Now, in terms of his colors, well, he's got all the yellow of the cheetah, but now he's got some of the blue highlights that he had in the show as well. So the arms, shoulders, a lot of his legs, his torso. In terms of articulation, much like other Beast Wars figures, there's a lot of ball joints, but we can move his head. I think we can get this all the way around if we want to. And we can make him look down if we want, which is not going to help him too much. The arms, they're on a ball joint, the shoulders, so we can move those all around. And just by nature of this piece here for where he transforms, we can actually move the arm forward a little bit if we want as well. There's also a joint here so we can swivel. He's got the bend at the elbow. Nothing in the wrist. Now, in terms of the hips, we can turn them a little bit, but this front piece doesn't turn with it, so it's going to look kind of awkward, and it does limit how far we can turn that thing. That kind of looks like a face. There's a couple eyes, a nose, and some big scary teeth there. Anyways, the hips, those are on a ball joint as well, so we've got a pretty good range of motion here. Whoops. The leg, it twists at the thigh, and we've got the bend at the knee, and there's pretty much nothing in the foot, except we can put that in, but I don't think that's going to help us too much. So that's him in terms of his posability, or his articulation, I suppose. Now, like all the, I guess what, the first wave deluxe Beast Wars figures, I think a number of the second wave as well, they had a beast head. Why? I don't know. Maybe it was to scare children. But if we take his head and we fold it down, you can see eyes there, a beak, and this is him in his beast head mode, which, mercifully, we never saw in the show. I know they did it with some characters. A lot of the Predacons used their beast head as their primary head. Waspinator did that. That's the way they did, Tarantulas. Probably some others I'm just not thinking of right now. There we have it. But we'll put it back, that one, because we like this one better. Now, in terms of his weapons, I can stand him up here for a second. Actually, you know what? Let's move him back there. We've got this weapon. It's part of his tail. We fold the tail back. And there we've got a gun, which we can put on Cheetor, so that he can have a Quasar Jam. And actually, it wasn't this weapon, was it? Ooh, my bad. In fact, I don't think he ever uses this particular weapon in the show. But we've got that gun. And then this is the one that, it's closer to what we would see on the show. Obviously, they changed it a little bit. But we can see at the bottom here, if we can focus on that a little bit, it does look like, what, intestines in there? So it is the lower part of his, let's say, bowels. And obviously that's the gun here at the front. Now this thing, it's a soft plastic. And what we could do is we could use this to fill up some water and we could squirt it at people. Because, I don't know, your plastic transformer isn't going to like the water too much. I don't know. Anyways. We can put this here in the other arm. Now, one thing I should point out is that when we put this gun in his arm, it's because of the size of it, he can't really bend his arm too much anymore. So this one, he's going to be pointing straight at you all the time. This one, we can at least adjust a little bit. We can have him at a rest position or something. Now, this figure did come with a piece of Transmutate, which I have somewhere, but I'm not going to dig out right now. I think eventually we'll do a review of just Transmutate and we'll look at all the different pieces on its own. Because it's like a leg or an arm or something, and who really cares about that right now? But that is Cheetor from Transformers Beast Wars, 10th anniversary. You can still find these floating around at some stores, even though it came out a couple of years ago now. I've seen it still in some retail stores, kind of warming pegs. You can probably still find it at all the toy shows and stuff. If you missed Cheetor the first time around, it's probably worth getting just for that reason. And that's the reason why I picked this one up. I missed Cheetor the first time around, so I decided I had to get it this time just so I could have a Cheetor. It's a good figure. In terms of a rating, I would give this figure a B+. It's got some decent articulation. This piece on the front, the chest piece, is a little bit annoying because it's huge. And it does kind of obscure how the rest of the figure is going to look. Like, you see, you lose a lot of his face to it. But anyways, whoops. I suppose we could do that, but then he's got a big gaping hole in his chest. So, as I said, B+ for Cheetor. It's a decent figure. If you still pick it up, you know what, I'd recommend it. At least if you like the show. If you didn't like Beast Wars, then you probably won't bother. But otherwise, that is Cheetor from Transformers Beast Wars 10th anniversary. I think that's about it for this lesson, so class dismissed.